ASD. The stronger you become, the quieter your reactions get. That's the paradox at the heart of emotional power. Think about how often your day gets hijacked by something small. A single text that comes in with the wrong tone, a glance that feels dismissive, or a careless comment that rattles your confidence. One moment you were calm, the next your chest tightens, your throat feels hot, and your whole mood shifts. That shift is the hidden trap of reactivity. The urge feels so natural, so immediate, that it convinces you it must be obeyed. But here's the truth. The urge is not destiny. The heat rising in your body is not a command. It's a signal, and signals are meant to be read, not obeyed. Real strength begins in that split second of recognition. Before words fly, before anger tightens your jaw, before pride rushes in to defend your image, there's a tiny space. Most people skip right over it. They lash out, defend, argue, prove, and then they spend hours, days, even years repairing the damage of those reactions. But you can train yourself differently. You can start to live in that space, using it as a lever to redirect your life. Pause for a moment and imagine yourself as a driver. Your emotions are passengers, some loud, some quiet, some trying to grab the wheel. When you don't train the pause, it's as if every passenger gets to steer the car whenever they want. That's chaos. But when you practice holding that split second, you take the wheel back. You're not suppressing the passengers. You're acknowledging them while staying in control of the route. That is what it means to master the urge to react. Most of us were never taught this. Society rewards speed, quick comebacks, instant responses, decisive action. From an early age, we're pushed to defend ourselves, to fire back when criticized, to prove we're right, to clap back at disrespect. But quickness doesn't equal strength. In fact, it often signals insecurity. True strength is slower, steadier. It's the ability to feel the rush of anger without letting it choose your next words. It's the ability to notice the sting of disrespect and still walk away with dignity intact. You're not weak for feeling anger. You're not flawed for feeling hurt. Those are human emotions. What makes you strong is the ability to notice them without becoming them. Reacting gives power to everything outside you. Other people's moods, careless tones, petty provocations. Choosing not to react gives power back to you. It's not about ignoring your emotions. It's about leading them. So how do you start building this muscle? With small reps. Start in places that feel safe to practice. The driver who cuts you off. The online comment that feels insulting. The friend who speaks carelessly. Feel the emotion rise. Notice where it shows up in your body. Your shoulders, your jaw, your chest. Instead of obeying it, sit with it for a beat. Let it be there. Don't fight it, don't deny it, but don't give it the microphone either. That's the rep. That's the practice. And just like lifting weights, repetition builds strength over time. Think about the loops you've been stuck in before. You argue with someone who already made up their mind. You defend yourself to someone who doesn't care about your explanation. You text back in anger and regret it an hour later. Each loop steals peace and leaves behind regret. But the loop ends the moment you decide not to obey the urge. You choose calm over chaos. You choose clarity over reaction. And here's where growth begins. The moment you realize you are not your emotions. You are not your reactions. You are the one observing them. You are the one who decides. That perspective creates distance, and in that distance lies freedom. Imagine your life if you no longer lost entire days to one sharp word, one cold glance, one dismissive tone. Imagine your relationships if you stopped overreacting to the small stuff. Imagine your confidence if you knew you could trust yourself to stay calm in any situation. People notice calm. They respect steadiness. They admire restraint, even if they don't always say it. It shows maturity. It shows self-leadership. And most importantly, it builds self-respect. You begin to trust yourself because you know you won't sabotage peace with a 5-second outburst. You know you can carry yourself with dignity, no matter what is thrown your way. This isn't about perfection. You'll still slip. You'll still react sometimes. That's part of being human. The point isn't to erase emotions. It's to build awareness and strength one small choice at a time. Maybe today you bite your tongue once. Tomorrow you pause for 5 seconds before replying. The next day you choose to walk away from drama. Each time you build the habit of power. Think of this pause as a shield. It protects your energy. It filters your reactions. It allows you to live more intentionally. And like any shield, it takes practice to hold up when pressure comes. But the more you do it, the lighter it feels, and the more natural it becomes. Right now, I want you to consider this. The next time you feel that surge, the tightness, the heat, the racing thoughts, what if you didn't obey it? What if you simply noticed it, breathed once or twice, and let yourself choose your next move with clarity? That single choice could change the outcome of a conversation, the tone of a relationship, even the trajectory of your day. So comment below. Where are you watching this right now? And what time is it for you? I'd love to see how far this message travels. And while you're here, make sure to subscribe to AudioBook Sanctuary and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next deep dive into the power of mastering yourself. Now back to your story. When you train the muscle of not reacting, you begin to break free from the cycles that keep you stuck. You discover that calm is not weakness, it's discipline. Silence is not passivity, it's strategy. And restraint is not fear, it's wisdom. That's the promise of mastering the urge, the freedom to choose who you are in the heat of the moment. You no longer live at the mercy of whatever emotion rises first. You step into self-leadership. You begin to live with strength instead of regret. And once you've built the habit of facing the urge without obeying it, the next step is just as liberating. Learning how to let people feel wrong about you without needing to fix their perception. That's where we go next. There's a strange heaviness that comes with being misunderstood. It can feel like a knot in your chest, a pressure in your throat, a restless energy that pushes you to defend, explain, clarify. Human beings are wired to want to be understood. We want others to see our intentions, to know our hearts, to give us the benefit of the doubt. But here's the hard truth. Not everyone will. And the more you chase that approval, the more exhausted and reactive you become. You've probably been there before. Someone misquotes you. A coworker assumes the worst about your decision. A family member retells a story in a way that paints you as the problem. Instantly, your mind races. I need to fix this. I need them to know I didn't mean it that way. You pour out explanations, hoping clarity will calm the storm. But what happens most of the time? Nothing changes. Their opinion stays the same. The misunderstanding remains, and you walk away drained, replaying the conversation in your head, wishing you'd said it differently. This is the trap of needing to be understood at all costs. And like any trap, the first step out is awareness. Ask yourself, why do I need them to see me accurately? What will change if they don't? Does their perception really alter who I am? Most of the time, the answer is no. But we still spend hours, even years, trying to fix what was never ours to carry. Here's the key shift: letting people feel wrong about you without rushing to correct them. That may sound impossible at first. It may feel like surrender. But in reality, it's not weakness, it's strength. Because it means you're choosing peace over ego, clarity over conflict, freedom over entanglement. You're recognizing that your energy is finite, and you're refusing to waste it where it won't matter. Some misunderstandings are born of ignorance. Some are born of jealousy. Some are born of stubbornness, where the other person doesn't want to understand you because holding on to their version of the story gives them power. In those cases, every word you offer is fuel for their fire, and the harder you try to prove yourself, the deeper they dig in. Think about the cost. Every time you explain yourself to someone determined to misread you, you hand them your time, your emotional clarity, your inner peace. That's a high price for an opinion that won't change. When you learn to pause instead of defend, to breathe instead of argue, you discover something profound. Your peace doesn't need their permission. This doesn't mean you never clarify. If someone you trust misreads your heart and they're open to listening, then yes, have the conversation. Bring light where there's confusion, but discern the difference. Some conversations bring connection, others just feed drama. Wisdom is knowing which is which. Imagine the relief of not needing to fix every false opinion. You'd stop performing. You'd stop rehearsing counter-arguments in your mind. You'd stop carrying the weight of proving your goodness to people who aren't looking for it. Instead, you'd walk lighter, grounded in the knowledge that your character speaks louder than your defense. Here's a simple exercise. The next time you feel the pull to defend yourself, ask, what's the cost of this reaction? What am I giving up to be understood by someone who doesn't want to understand me? If the answer is your peace, your energy, your dignity, then the price is too high. Let them believe what they want. Their opinion doesn't shape your worth. You'll notice a shift when you start practicing this. The urge to correct will still come, but it won't control you. At first, you may feel uncomfortable in the silence, like you're abandoning yourself. But slowly, you'll realize you're actually protecting yourself. You're saying, I know who I am. I don't need every voice to validate it. People will always talk. Some will never admit they were wrong. Some will rewrite stories to protect their own ego. Some will cast you as the villain because it's easier than owning their mistakes. Let them. Their stories don't define you. Your response, or lack of one, does. And something else happens when you stop defending. The people who matter most reveal themselves. The ones who truly care will ask questions instead of assuming. They'll listen instead of judge. They'll give you space to be human, flawed, misunderstood, and still worthy of respect. Those are the voices worth your words. The rest? Let them echo into silence. Respecting your peace doesn't mean cutting off everyone who misjudges you. It means learning to walk away from unnecessary battles. It means knowing the difference between a conversation that could build trust and one that will only drain it. It means being okay with not being the hero of every story people tell. So the next time someone misunderstands you, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, does this really need my explanation? Or does it need my silence? More often than not, the answer will be silence. And in that silence, you'll find strength. That's the discipline of releasing approval battles. choosing freedom over friction, dignity over defense. It's a practice that keeps your energy intact and your focus clear. And once you learn to let others feel wrong about you, you become lighter. You stop chasing clarity in places where it doesn't live. You start investing your energy in growth, healing, and purpose. The next step builds on this discipline. If you can stop defending against every misunderstanding, you can also learn to sit with inner discomfort without scrambling to escape it. That's where your growth deepens. By turning tension into a teacher instead of an enemy, there is a restlessness that creeps in when tension fills your body. Your chest tightens, your breath grows shallow, your thoughts scramble for an escape. Most people meet that moment with distraction, reaching for the phone, filling the silence with chatter, finding food, noise, or any habit that promises relief. But running from discomfort doesn't make it disappear. It only teaches your body that tension is the enemy and escape is the only answer. The truth is the opposite. Tension is not the enemy. Tension is the teacher. When you start treating discomfort as information instead of a threat, everything changes. That uneasy sensation in your body is a signal, not a verdict. It says, pay attention here. It reveals something about your patterns, your patience, your blind spots. But if you always run, you never learn. You never see the truth behind the trigger. Growth only comes when you stay long enough to listen. Think about how often problems spiral because of avoidance. You avoid the conversation that needs to happen, so resentment builds. You avoid the silence, so you fill it with words you don't mean. You avoid the discomfort of waiting, so you rush into decisions that cost you later. Avoidance feels safe in the moment, but dangerous in the long run. Sitting with discomfort feels hard in the moment, but liberating in the long run. Start small. When tension rises, don't reach for the nearest escape. Sit with it. Notice where it lives in your body. Is it your shoulders, your jaw, your stomach? Let yourself feel it without trying to fix it right away. This is the practice. Noticing, breathing, staying present. You'll discover that tension doesn't last forever. It passes. It shifts. And the more you allow it to be felt, the less control it has over you. Most of the harm in life doesn't come from what we feel. It comes from what we do to avoid what we feel. We say things we regret. We make choices out of panic. We lash out at people we love. Not because we're bad, but because we never learned to sit still in the storm. Sitting with tension gives you back your freedom. It slows down your impulses and clears space for wiser action. Imagine a difficult conversation. Instead of interrupting or defending yourself instantly, you take one breath. You notice your pulse rising, your mind wanting to escape. You don't run. You don't fight. You sit. In that stillness, you begin to see what's really happening. Maybe it's not anger, it's disappointment. Maybe it's not frustration, it's exhaustion. Without stillness, you'd never know. You'd just react on the surface. With stillness, you reach the root. This practice also teaches you something surprising. Tension softens when it's acknowledged. It's the resistance to it that makes it grow. When you allow discomfort to exist, your body begins to relax. Your thoughts slow down. Your breath deepens, and clarity arrives. You realize you don't need to fix everything in the moment you feel it. Sometimes the wisest move is to feel it, let it pass, and then decide. It's not easy. At first, sitting with discomfort will feel unbearable. You'll feel restless, awkward, even fearful. That's normal. But every second you stay present is a step toward strength. Over time, you'll discover that your capacity is greater than you thought. You can hold more than you believed. You can survive feelings that once sent you running. That awareness builds unshakable confidence. You'll also notice how this practice reshapes your relationships. Instead of reacting out of irritation, you'll pause. Instead of snapping at someone when you're tired, you'll breathe through the tension. Instead of escaping into silence out of avoidance, you'll choose silence out of strength. People will feel the difference. They'll notice your calm. They'll respect your steadiness. Think about leaders you admire, not just in titles, but in presence. They don't panic under pressure. They don't crumble in discomfort. They hold steady, creating space for others to breathe. That steadiness is not a gift they were born with. It's a skill they practiced by learning to sit with their own discomfort first. Here's a challenge. The next time discomfort hits, don't rush to fix it. Don't scroll, don't snack, don't distract. Just sit for 30 seconds. Notice the rise and fall of your breath. Notice how your mind screams for relief. And then notice how, slowly, it begins to quiet. That's the lesson. You're stronger than the discomfort. You are bigger than the tension. Every time you practice this, you train yourself to be the person in the room who doesn't panic, doesn't lash out, doesn't crumble. You become the steady presence others can lean on. That steadiness begins with you but extends outward, into your conversations, your decisions, your future. So remember, discomfort isn't here to destroy you. It's here to reveal you. It shows you what you avoid, where you lose patience, how you cope. And if you listen, it shows you how to grow. That's the gift tension carries when you stop treating it as an enemy and start treating it as a teacher. And once you've built the strength to sit with discomfort, the next step takes that same discipline into your relationships. Because silence itself can be your shield, your strategy, and your greatest sign of strength. That's where we're heading next. Silence is one of the most underestimated forces in your emotional toolkit. People think power comes from speaking, from defending, from correcting the record. But often, the greatest power lies in what you don't say. Silence protects your energy. It preserves your dignity. It gives you space to see clearly before you act. And when you begin to respect your silence more than your need to be understood instantly, you step into a deeper kind of control. You've likely felt the pressure before. Someone misjudges you, throws out an unfair comment, or demands an immediate answer. Every part of you wants to jump in, to explain, to set the record straight. Your chest feels hot. Your thoughts race. Your pride begs for the microphone. Yet how many times has speaking in that moment left you drained, misunderstood, or even more entangled? Silence is not weakness. Silence is wisdom in motion. Here's why silence works. It creates space. Space slows everything down. In that space, you can see what's really going on. Is the other person asking to understand or asking to win? Is this conversation about clarity or about control? If it's about control, your words won't fix it. They'll just feed it. But silence interrupts the pattern. It keeps you from pouring energy into a battle that never needed to be fought. Consider how much noise exists in daily life. Social media arguments, endless group chats, conversations where people talk over each other just to be heard. Noise is everywhere. And when you add your reaction to the noise, you lose clarity. But when you hold silence, you stand apart. People notice that. They sense the weight behind your restraint. Every word you eventually do speak carries more gravity because it isn't wasted. Of course, silence isn't about avoidance. It's not about swallowing every truth. It's about timing. It's about protecting your voice until you're clear, not triggered. Speaking from clarity brings connection. Speaking from urgency brings confusion. That's the difference between discipline and impulse. Silence buys you that discipline. Think of silence as a shield. Imagine someone lobs an unfair accusation your way. If you rush to defend, you hand them your energy, your attention, your peace. But if you hold silence, you shield yourself. You show yourself that your worth isn't up for debate every time someone misunderstands you. That's not passivity, it's leadership. You're choosing not to let their urgency dictate your response. It takes strength to sit in silence when your ego screams to speak. It takes discipline to let discomfort hang in the air without rushing to fill it. And it takes maturity to realize that not every misunderstanding is worth your correction. You start to see the bigger picture. Your peace matters more than winning an argument. Your energy matters more than instant validation. Your dignity matters more than being right in the moment. Let's be honest. People will misread your silence. Some will think you're ignoring them. Some will label you passive. Some will assume they've won because you didn't fight back. That's their story, not yours. Your job is not to manage their interpretation. Your job is to protect your energy and lead yourself. And sometimes leadership looks like choosing silence when noise would only harm. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you feel pressured to speak, ask yourself 3 questions. Is this the right time? Is this the right person? Is this the right energy? If the answer to any of those is no, honor your silence. Wait. Protect your voice until it can add clarity instead of more confusion. Over time, you'll notice something. Silence doesn't shrink you. It expands you. It creates room for calm. It keeps you from saying words you'll regret. It builds a reputation for steadiness. People may not always like it, but they respect it. And even more importantly, you will respect it. You'll look back and feel proud that you didn't let every passing emotion drag you into noise. This is emotional maturity at its finest. Knowing that your worth doesn't hinge on instant understanding. You can be misjudged and still be steady. You can be questioned and still be clear. You can be doubted and still be at peace. That's the freedom silence offers. So remember, the most powerful response is sometimes no response at all. Not because you don't care, but because you care more about your peace than about proving yourself in the moment. Respect your silence more than your urge to be instantly understood. Because when you do, you lead yourself, not just in conversations, but in life. And once you've learned to respect silence, you'll be ready for the next challenge, noticing when pride itself tries to take the wheel. Because pride is sneaky. It whispers in your ear, urging you to defend your image, to get the last word, to prove you're strong. Learning to catch that voice is the next step in mastering yourself. There's a moment so small you almost miss it. Someone questions your effort, doubts your decision, or throws out a careless comment that stings. And before you even think, something rises inside you. An urgent push to speak, to defend, to prove. That voice is pride. It doesn't come quietly. It comes fast, hot, insistent. Pride doesn't care about peace. It cares about image. It doesn't want clarity. It wants the last word. And if you don't learn to notice it, pride will keep running the show. Pride is seductive because it feels like strength. It says, don't let them talk to you that way. It says, if you don't speak now, you'll look weak. It says, show them you're not wrong. But pride is short-sighted. It wins the moment while losing the bigger picture. How many arguments have dragged on because pride needed to be right? How many relationships have cracked because pride wouldn't let silence speak? Pride disguises itself as strength, but in truth, it's often insecurity dressed up in armor. The key is awareness. Pride doesn't usually shout. It whispers. It shows up as a quick rush of heat in your chest, a tightening in your throat, a racing thought that insists, say something now. That's your cue. That's the signal. When you feel that spike, you have a choice. Let pride take the microphone or pause and hold your peace. Real power is in recognizing the difference. Think about how many sentences in your life didn't need to be spoken. How many times did you say something just to protect your image and then regret it later? Pride always wants the last word, but the last word rarely brings healing. It rarely brings respect. Often, it just leaves you with more cleanup to do. True confidence doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to correct every opinion or defend every detail. True confidence knows when to step back, when to let go, when to let silence do the talking. That's not weakness. It's wisdom. Here's the test. The next time you feel that rush to defend, pause and ask yourself 2 questions. Is what I'm about to say true and helpful? Or is it just my pride trying to win? If it's pride, step back. You don't need to obey it. You don't need to give it your voice. Pride can scream inside your head, but you don't have to hand it the microphone. This doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you pick your battles wisely. It means you save your words for what matters. It means you value long-term peace over short-term ego. Because pride will cost you peace if you let it. It will keep you stuck in cycles of conflict and regret. But restraint, choosing not to let pride lead, will build trust, clarity, and dignity. Imagine the strength of being able to stand in silence while others misunderstand, while others argue, while others push. You don't crumble. You don't snap. You don't give in to the pressure of pride. You hold your ground quietly, firmly, respectfully. That steadiness leaves an impression. People may not always admit it, but they respect restraint more than they respect outbursts. And think about how much lighter your life would feel if you stopped fighting battles pride chose for you. You'd have more peace, more clarity, more energy for the things that matter. You'd stop rehearsing comebacks in your head. You'd stop replaying arguments. You'd stop letting pride dictate your story. Here's a simple exercise. The next time you feel pride rising, take 1 deep breath before speaking. Just 1. That breath interrupts the automatic response. It creates space for clarity. And in that space, you can decide, do I really need to say this? Or am I just protecting my ego? Over time, this 1 breath becomes a habit. And habits shape identity. You become the kind of person who leads with calm instead of pride. This is the discipline of self-leadership. Pride will always be there, whispering, pressing, tempting. But your awareness is stronger. Your discipline is stronger. Your clarity is stronger. Each time you notice pride and refuse to let it lead, you grow. You prove to yourself that you can hold power without needing to display it. That's the quiet confidence people trust. So let pride talk inside your mind, but don't let it talk through your mouth. Let it rise, let it be felt, but keep your peace intact. Because in the end, pride wants you to win the moment. Wisdom wants you to win your life. And once you've learned to catch pride's voice, the next challenge is to expand that pause even further. To build space between every feeling and your next move. That space is where emotional freedom lives. That's where we're heading next. There's a small space that decides everything. A breath, a pause, a beat between what you feel and what you do next. Most people never notice it. They go straight from emotion to action, from frustration to snapping, from fear to retreat, from anger to words that can't be taken back. But if you want freedom, if you want to stop being ruled by emotions, you have to learn to expand that space. That's where self-leadership begins. Feelings are fast. They rise in seconds, uninvited and powerful. But they are also temporary. They pass, they shift, they move like weather. The problem is when we let temporary feelings create permanent consequences. A heated argument destroys trust. A hasty decision reshapes a career. An angry message lingers longer than the emotion that wrote it. That's why space matters. It shields you from building a life of regret. Building space is not about suppressing feelings. It's about honoring them without obeying them. You feel the heat of anger? Good. Notice it. You feel the sting of disrespect? Acknowledge it, but don't let those feelings dictate your next step. Step back internally. Take a breath. Let the emotion exist without making it the commander of your behavior. That's discipline. That's strength. Think of space as a filter. Raw emotion pours in. Anger, fear, insecurity. But before it hits your tongue, your hands, your decisions, it passes through a filter of clarity. That filter asks, does this response align with my values? Does it protect my peace? Does it build the future I want? If not, silence is your answer. Pausing is your answer. Choosing differently is your answer. The benefits of building space ripple through every part of your life. In relationships, it means fewer unnecessary arguments and more moments of calm understanding. In work, it means responding with strategy instead of defensiveness. In your inner life, it means breaking free of the cycle where every emotion becomes an action and every action becomes regret. Space gives you your future back. But here's the challenge. The world won't slow down for you. People will keep talking, keep provoking, keep pulling. Life will keep pressing. You have to create the pause yourself. You have to decide to breathe before replying, to step back before acting, to wait before speaking. That's your responsibility and your freedom. This ties directly into protecting your energy. Because once you learn to build space, you stop handing out pieces of yourself to every demand and every mood around you. You stop trying to control how others treat you and focus instead on controlling your own responses. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't care to listen. You stop giving emotional access to those who haven't earned it. Space helps you see, not everything deserves my energy. Holding your energy is not selfish. It's stewardship. It's the recognition that you can't pour from an empty cup. When you say no, when you step back, when you choose silence over argument, you are not withdrawing from life. You are strengthening your capacity to live it well. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you open and close with wisdom. And at the heart of it all lies this question. Who is leading your life? You or your emotions? Every morning, that question waits for you. You can let frustration dictate your words, fear dictate your choices, pride dictate your reactions, or you can lead yourself. Leading yourself doesn't mean you never feel. It means you feel deeply, but you choose wisely. It means you stop waiting for motivation and start acting from values. It means you stop being dragged by moods and start walking in alignment with purpose. This is what emotional maturity looks like. Not perfection, not numbness, but presence. The ability to sit in tension without fleeing. The ability to face misunderstanding without over-explaining. the ability to notice pride without feeding it, the ability to build space and hold it long enough to choose your response. That's leadership, starting with yourself. Now imagine your life shaped by this discipline. You pause before reacting. You breathe before replying. You walk away when silence is stronger than words. You protect your energy like the treasure it is. You stop fighting to be understood by everyone and start choosing to be at peace with yourself. Over time, you become steady, calm, clear, and people notice. They trust you. They respect you. They follow your presence, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. That is the life available to you. A life not ruled by emotional storms, but guided by inner clarity. A life where your reactions no longer sabotage your peace. A life where you lead yourself every day. Strong, calm, steady. Today, choose to pause. Choose to breathe. Choose to carry your peace. Because every time you do, you are building a future where you, not your emotions, hold the wheel. And as we close this journey, let's zoom out and return to the core truth. Your real power lives in the pause, in the silence, in the choice to lead yourself. Who leads today? You or your emotions? That's the question you carry out of this story. Every day you'll feel anger, hope, doubt, pride, joy, sometimes all before lunch. But those emotions aren't built to lead you. They are built to be noticed, honored, and guided. Leadership doesn't begin with managing others. It begins with managing yourself. You don't need motivation to do this. Motivation comes and goes. What you need is decision. A vow to yourself. Today, I lead me. That decision is quiet, but it transforms everything. Because when you choose to lead yourself, you stop giving away your power to moods, misunderstandings, and provocations. So here's your practice. Pause for 5 seconds when emotions rise. Ask one better question. Is this response aligned with who I want to be? Choose one smaller step that protects your peace. These small acts build into habits, and habits shape character. Before long, you'll notice a deeper trust in yourself. You'll know that no matter what storm swirls outside, you can hold calm inside. Say it with me. I pause. I choose. I carry peace. That triad is your anchor. Write it down. Breathe it in. Live it daily. And here's a gentle challenge. Run the test 3 times today. Do I even need to respond? You'll be amazed how often the answer is no. That no is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the difference between being pulled into noise and standing firm in clarity. So as you step back into your day, carry this with you. You're not here to react to everything. You're here to live from values, to choose your path with strength, to walk in dignity even when emotions push. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more calm. It needs more presence. It needs more people who can lead themselves first. Remember, you're not your emotions. You're the one who decides what to do with them. That decision is your power. That decision is your freedom. And that decision, made again and again, will change your life. I feel it. I name it. I don't obey it. I buy myself 5 seconds. I breathe once, twice. I pick the move my values would make, not my mood. That's how you win. Not by silencing emotions, but by mastering them. Not by reacting to everything, but by leading yourself through anything. Quiet sovereignty, inner strength, peace chosen on purpose. That is the path of power.